have our very first Blacks in Performance Marketing Summit 2025, hosted by Lead Gen World and Mike Free. We're right now for that Sunday prior to, which is January 5th, right there in Hollywood, Florida. We will actually have it. We're on the Sunday starting at 10 o'clock. We will have our summit. We have the agenda all coming together. You'll see to the far right of the screen. We've got an agenda that's building out right now that includes several different speakers and activities. So we're looking to be truly engaging and interactive. We've got some sponsors coming, and again, more sponsors to come.
How many of you, at least who's on video, how many of you are paying money for like Chat GPT Plus, Claude, Perplexity? Okay, so you're paying, so you're not using the free version, you're using the paid one. Okay, very cool. And do any of you use like HubSpot? Anybody use HubSpot? Okay. Just curious, any Salesforce users? Salesforce? No? What else there's Microsoft Office, Office 365, and the whole Copilot suite. Anybody using that too? Okay, gotcha. Cool. So yeah, so let's get into this real quick. I guess I'm not gonna ask you who has a Mac. I assume most of you have a Mac, but I know there's probably some PC users. So I've been playing around with Apple Intelligence as well. So hey Siri, can you set me a 20-minute timer? See if that works. And one more time. Nope. No. I'm gonna just I'll just type it in here. Can you see that on my screen where I'm typing at the top right?
No, we can't see it.
Yeah, okay. It's all good. So I got a 20-minute timer. So let's get into it. So again, Arvell Craig, I'm talking about AI tools and trends. Most of you know me. The main thing I do is for people who want AI software in their company that does like call center stuff, like takes calls and transfers calls. I have a product that I represent and sell for that. I also have a new AI software that does business development. So email and LinkedIn outreach. So AI agents is kind of the main product or tool or things that I kind of sell and promote. If any of you are interested in that, let me know. On the other side, AI speaking, I've been doing that, speaking for a while, but I'm getting into workshops, and I'll share more about that for companies. So if your company wants to train your people on AI, I'm starting. I have a new workshop that I'm doing. It's a half day or between 2 to 3 hour workshop I'm doing for companies. So that's me. I've got the AI strategy playbook, if you don't know that. And most of the resources that I talk about today, you can see those on Arvell Craig /AI. I've got some things there. So first thing I want to do is recap some things I've said in the past. The way even AI is a generic word that most people use for Chat GPT, which is okay, but AI is a lot bigger. AI is 50 years old, 60 years old. But I want to recap this one paradigm that I think is helpful for people. I say there's 4 ways to use AI. Number 1, there's AI models, which is like Chat GPT, Claude, Gemini. When you're talking with a chatbot AI that's like trained on the entire internet, that's one way to use AI. Then you got niche apps that are like real specific apps that just do they're like new, like, 2, 3, 4-year-old companies, a lot of startups like V Agents that just does calling. There's all these niche apps, right? Number 3, there's legacy apps like Salesforce, HubSpot, Google, Microsoft, Adobe, these companies that we know, we trust, they've been around for 10, 20 years. They're all adding AI into their suite. And then there's these no-code tools like Zapier, Make, and then there's Respell, Relevance. There's a lot of them. And you don't have to be a developer, but you can make your own solution with AI, right? So this is kind of a boilerplate thing I always talk about. And in the past, I would always say, most of my AI use is not Chat GPT. I don't leave my normal work environment to go in Chat GPT to do stuff and then go back into my regular app. That was my old story, which I said, with AI models, you got to learn prompt engineering and all the sophisticated stuff, which for most of us, we're just too busy. And so I've kind of focused on the niche apps. Like I have AI built into my browser. I use a lot of different tools. And one of the big things that I've learned is that AI tools in themselves still need prompting. Even if I'm not using Chat GPT, if I'm using AI, even in my HubSpot or whatever, they still need attention and they still need prompting. And so that's one of the mistakes I say I've made, is that I was quick to use AI niche apps and tools and trust that whoever built those apps, whoever put in the prompting, that it was going to be good enough. And I could just trust the app to do everything. And that I'm realizing that I didn't get the gains and the benefits. And so that's one of my biggest lessons and changing, is that I'm going to spend more time, even with whether it's whatever app, to more training, more involvement, just to get it to perform at the highest ability. So I just wanted to share that, because that's one of the biggest things I'm doing differently. So let me move on. So here's something that I've learned. I'm gonna give you 2 slides of things that I learned recently that I feel are valuable. So this is one new thing I kind of heard someone teach about: the 3 pillars of AI. Number 1 is the compute, or the chips, which I think you all have heard of NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA is the chips that power all it's the processors. That's a core pillar of how AI works, of how strong it is, and the energy that it takes to actually train these models. That's just a big factor that I think is important as business leaders, as you watch the economy, whatever, follow the software and the chips. Number 2 is the algorithm, which is, you know, the brain of AI, which is the Chat GPT, which is or Claude, the models that we use. That's a big factor of AI. And then the third factor is the data, which, again, most of the AI that we use now, the data is the internet, the good, the bad, the ugly of the internet. And moving in the future, the data is going to be more specific. It's not just going to be the whole internet, all its biases and all its lies and all its stuff. But I just felt like these 3 pillars are just, it's really fascinating to really understand it. Because again, when we go forward, future GPT 5, 6, 7, future models are going to be built with more trustworthy data, more specific data, even your own company data. I just felt like this categorization was valuable for me to understand. And then the last thing I feel is valuable to just have an understanding. This is OpenAI's vision for the future. And I think it's important to see this if you haven't seen this before. Again, all these AI companies are being built by humans who have their own philosophy of the future. And I think it's just valuable to understand what are they thinking. But this thing here, it's really cool. So in OpenAI's vision, there's 5 levels of AI. All the AI that we see today is level 1, just to clarify. So you can see here, all that we see now is level 1, which is chatbots, conversational AI for the most part. Level 2, reasoners, is where AI is not just trained on all the information of the world, it starts to be able to think like humans. And so for those of you who are using the paid version of ChatGPT, you probably know that 2-3 weeks ago, that new O1 preview model, have you all played with that new model? It's the AI that thinks now, that thinks like a human, and it works completely different than, not completely, but it is, main thing is that level 2 of AI is just getting started. So I just wanted to show you this chart. Level 3, agents, in OpenAI's language of agents, is really based upon level 2. It's when AI doesn't just spit out a fast answer, quoting, predicting based upon all its information. It stops and it thinks and it takes action. And so level 3 agents from OpenAI's world hasn't even begun yet. And then level 4 is where there's innovation, and it invents things for humanity on its own. And then level 5 is where an AI can be an entire organization, an entire business, performing every single function of a company all on its own. So this is kind of where AI is going. And so AGI, I see you, Sean, artificial general intelligence, AGI, is where AI, again, it can pretty much be level 5. It can operate every single aspect of a human, of a business, of an organization completely on its own. This is the vision of OpenAI. So if you don't know, this is where they're going. These were professors, PhD people, scientists. They were not business people. Most AI stuff is led by researchers and scientists who just want to explore, who just want computer to be like their God or to be infinitely, right? There's a philosophical perspective, but they just want to just see where things are going. Of course, they're making so much money that they've kind of shifted some of these goals to how can we make more money? So it's an interesting perspective to see. This is where almost all AI is going. I'll just pause there. Sean, did you have a question?
No. And because you know me, I am intrigued by all of this so much, and I'm trying to use my all of the different apps and elements of AI each and every day a little bit more and more. My question to you is, in essence, is two-part. One is, have you seen, you mentioned in this slide here that they're teaching everything how to reason, how to think more. Well, guess what? We've all been around long enough to know that everybody thinks differently. They will put a different spin and different perspective on almost anything, and how you state something will, spread lies or spread truth. And so, with that in mind, again, have you seen that, again, the way that the people who are training or conditioning the general AI are doing so from a mindset of what? Again, are they being courteous to every ethnicity, every culture, every whatever it might be? And then two, how do you sit back and make sure that when you are, writing something, that you are making sure that you are implementing it in a way where it is cognizant of everybody around, and go from there.
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, that goes back towards this pillars of AI. The current AI we have now, the data is just the internet. There's this mindset that the more information we give it, the better it'll be. So the way they train it is just a lot of information. Going forward, it's not just the data, right? As you're saying, there's like different levels of training. There's generic information of all the internet, and then there's like tuning and like, okay, just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it needs to say that. So there's a lot of training that deals with all the harmful stuff, all the risky stuff. There's that level. And then there's, again, like you mentioned, ethics and DEI, and just so there's just lots of different levels of training and tweaking the data. And so again, depending on how you use it, I mean, right now, yeah, some people want it to be open. Some people want it to say and do. They don't want any rules on it. But yeah, that's the best I can say is that's how they train it. And it's up to the company, the way you use it, that gets back into your skill of how you train it, how you manage it yourself, or each individual and your values and what you believe in. It's an individual's responsibility to control what comes out of it.
No, and so Arvell, to that point, and I know, and I see Myrna's hand. My, I guess an extension to that initial question was, I heard that some people use Chat GPT for one thing, then they'll use Claude for another, they'll use this for this one. And so me and Chad were having an opportunity, we were having a conversation earlier talking about like different presentations. Are there different AI systems that you would refer and say, use this one for content, use this one for artwork, use this one for this? Do you have any suggestions in that regards?
Yeah, I mean, in one sense, I mean, again, there's like the baseline, by default, Claude today is known to be a better writer. Claude, which is from Anthropic. Gemini from Google, by default, has the biggest brain, the biggest memory. If you needed to give it books and lots and its memory, it can process the largest amount of data by default, so that it has to get the biggest memory, the biggest brain, by default. And then Chat GPT, again, they're all good by default. Chat GPT has, as I mentioned, the reasoning. It's got the new reasoning model. It's the most intelligent from, again, a PhD level, or if it came to writing code and software, it has some advantages in that aspect. So there's, again, and then there's open source models like Facebook's and Mistral. If you're concerned about privacy and you don't want any of your AI on the internet, you don't want it, if you have developers in house and or for HIPAA or those kind of compliance issues, open source models are the most controllable yourself, and you can keep it private. And that's kind of one general overview of it. So,
Myrna?
Myrna, you got a question or comment?
No, I actually had a comment. I was gonna say high level, just to kind of give the programmatic viewpoint of how this AI thing is working. Basically, in a nutshell, all the computers out there in the world, all the programs out there in the world have the ability to machine learn, meaning that they are literally, like Arvell said, collecting data from us, and from that data are pumping out probability standpoints as to what would be the next response. So based off of all the data it's collecting, it is formulating its proposal of what it's going to pump out to us as we use it. So for example, when you have a paid platform like Chat GPT and you pay for it, it's learning you specifically and comparing that to everybody out there in the world who's entering in content and asking questions on these platforms. And it's going to then pump out, based off of probability, what they believe the response you're looking for is going to be. So I wanted to answer that for Sean, because depending on who's utilizing the platform and what level, sorry, my Uber thing, depending on what level you're paying for, like Arvell said, if it's open source, you have more flexibility to control what types of data comes back and pumps back to you. But depending on what level you have, it's going to change the type of content that it pumps back out to you. So I wanted to kind of frame that. And then in terms of tools, yeah, there are tools, like every component now in this day and age of a business platform, all of them have some component of AI on it. So, there are, and I always say this from a developer standpoint, if the product or the application is known for one specific thing, know that that one specific thing probably has the best formula in terms of AI. If it's something that does like a whole bunch of things, like a whole suite of offerings, their AI may not be as strong in some. So to answer your question, like, you think Canva for artwork is great tool because they've been collecting data from an image standpoint for the past several years, and the same goes with like every other, like he mentioned Claude, big one for content because they've been collecting. Google, yes, the biggest search engine of the world, has the most memory because it has the most data collected. So that's why it has the most possible memory to be able to regurgitate or propagate any data to you in terms of AI. So that's it. I just wanted to break that down for all of those in the room.
Thank you.
Continue,
Thank you.
Arvell. You're
No,
welcome.
awesome. Thank you. So the last few things I want to share, this is my big slide here, my lessons and themes for the year and going forward. The first thing is most people either overestimate or underestimate what AI is capable of. It is fascinating. And some people who don't, and a lot of people are not in touch with what's happening, as Matt began saying. If you're not aware, it's just, there's a big gap. And I say, even me, I overestimated what AI could do. I just found these new sexy tools. I gave it some information. I said, go make me money. And they do stuff. But again, I underestimated that it needs more oversight. it needs more training. Even like for Sean's question, it needs more of you. And if you can just spend the time you need to get it to do what you need it to do the way you want it to do it, it's going to, be night and day the results you get. Number two, again, AI is trained on the internet, lots of information. I do think it's going to start becoming more and more and more specific. And again, I'm not a data person, I'm not a developer, I'm not a machine learning expert, but I do see that trend where even like with HubSpot, just like using AI with your own data, your own values, your own things. And you can see my HubSpot, right?
Yes.
So like with HubSpot, I have a free account. I don't use it much, but they have this co-pilot here built into. So it's like, and I can ask it questions about people on my contact list. I can get it. So again, instead of going out and doing new things and new tools, AI is being added into so many different of the things we use every day. So from generic mass data to specific data, if you take the time and figure out the AI that's built into your Microsoft Office suite or your HubSpot suite or your Salesforce suite or your Google suite, you're going to, again, get a lot of benefit by doing that. I'm not going to click around here, but I've been playing around with it. It's pretty interesting. The last two things are agents and voice. Agents the biggest things that it seems like the bigger companies are trying to do, they're trying to create more and more automated AI that does stuff for you. That's just a big trend that I'm noticing. And I've been trying to use agents and again, V agents, but it's just a voice AI. So the language, some people describe it in different ways, but I do feel like a big thing, continue to pay attention to AI agents and what that looks like in whatever platform you're using, because that is where it seems to be most of the companies are investing most into. How do you operationalize AI in your business? It has to start doing stuff. The second thing that I think is not talked about much, that I think is that's going to be kind of a sleeper trend, is AI voice, meaning using your voice to control AI. More of AI talking to you through your device and you talking to it and having it do stuff for you on your behalf. I think that is a major trend. Like I said, I don't know why my Siri wasn't working on here, but the Apple Intelligence, again, I don't even know what all it does, but I've been playing, but using my voice is going to be, I think that's a major thing that I just want to encourage you to look into. And I've got an AI voice in my computer that I'll demonstrate in a minute, but that's coming. And then the last thing, education and training. Again, we've had this version of AI for 2 years. People are slowly realizing it. But last week I was in Atlanta speaking at a conference, and I've given certain AI talks 10, 15 times in the past 2 years. And for the most part, the audience hasn't changed much in general. So just there's a lot of growth still to happen. And I do believe that education and training is going to be a major factor in the coming year. If you invest into training your people to not just know what's out there, but to get quality use cases, solve specific problems, again, spend weeks or months refining to get better results. I think there's going to be a big gap, a larger gap between those who get big results and those who don't. And part of that is going to be investing in education and training. Even myself, again, I realize that I need to do more. And like I mentioned, I'm going to be doing workshops and things like that because that's a major thing that I see going forward. The last thing I want to do in the next, say, 5 minutes, I'll be done. I want to demonstrate just a few things. So I have this AI voice tool that I'm still playing around with, but what's cool is that not only does it transcribe my voice, but if I were like writing a document or an email, it includes all the formatting, bullets, quotes, capitalizations, all that is kind of built into this one voice system. So I want to demonstrate a few things, and then we'll be done. So I'm in Chat GPT using the basic 4.0 model. And so let's just say, thinking about, the summit, I'm going to just show a couple things if you haven't seen these features. Let's see. Provide an argument on the value of diversity in corporate America. So I'm going to control everything I'm going to do. I'm going to do by voice just because I have a tool that does that. So the basic Chat GPT, right? Nothing special. You ask it a question, it gives you an answer. And of course, as Myrna was saying, my Chat GPT does know me. It does know things I've searched in the past. So some of my results may be different from your results. So that's the basic version. It's really smart. And of course, I can add more into my prompt. I can give it more. I can mess with it more. If you go into the O1, the new AI that has the reasoning capability, the fact that the main thing is that the new version thinks, and it's just, and therefore it typically gives a different result. So I'm going to do the same thing. Provide an argument on the value of diversity in corporate America. So the same question, no different prompt, but the AI that thinks, it's not just going to give me an answer really fast. And you can see that it's thinking and it's crafting, highlighting diversity. You know, it's just the fact that it's slower, it typically gives a better, more thoughtful answer. And again, the question could be more complex, but that is the difference in the new O1 preview model. It thinks more, right? And so therefore, depending on what you want, it can give you that. And then the third thing I want to demonstrate is, have any of you heard about the new Canvas? Any of you heard of Canvas? So Canvas is a new feature that I think came out last week, where for either writing software code or for writing projects, it's kind of not like a text editor, but it just allows you to refine and make changes to a document in a different version of looking at it. So I'm going to just I'm curious, can you turn what you just gave me into an article or a blog post using Canvas? So now the same content, if I want to use that content in an article or a blog post, I'm using the Canvas model, which you can see here splits my screen. So on the left side, I can talk to it like I usually do. And on the right side, I can see the results of what's there. So it's just, they're just adding more features so businesses can have more value in what you're doing, understanding, how do you make change? So I can be here on the left typing and make changes, and can you do this? But on the right side, it does have some features built into it where it can actually, do it for me. So I can say, suggest some edits. So I can click on the suggest edits button, and it'll automatically review the article and make some suggestions. I'll click on here, consider rephrasing this, buzzwords and cliches with diversity. You may want to do that. I'll click apply. I agree. Let's go ahead and change that. So the whole editing process of take your time, don't just throw it in Chat GPT, you think it's a great answer. You can go back and forth and just spend more time, and you'll get, again, that's a big thing, you'll get better results. But this Canvas structure is really, not saying turning it into a document editor like Word, but who knows? That's one thing we don't know, is that the AI is so smart, it might turn into a Microsoft Word. It might turn into a search engine. We don't know, but I can go here again and I can say, change the length, make this longer or shorter article if it's too long. I can say, change the reading level, make a high school reading level, a college age. So just a little slider, just cute little way to manipulate, manage your article live with you. And again, I can go to it specifically, bold things. I can ask Chat GPT. I can interact with the document. So that's just a new feature of Chat GPT that I just wanted to highlight for you. And again, I could put in, you know, the BiPM website. I could do more things. Like I say, give me resources, quote other companies, Fortune 500 companies who stated in their investor reports about the value. You know, just again, that's stuff that we kind of know, but this is just a different way to interact with it. Sean?
So Arvell, this is 4.0? So this is not the new 1.0.
No, this is 4.0 with Canvas. So it's not, yeah, it's the standard 4, but now they have a different way, you can see here, where you can kind of, yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yep.
I am so far behind. Again, right now, again, just to share a quick kind of and Levy, I sat back and I wrote this letter to my wife based off of a you know, kind of a love letter based on the past weekend. And I said, okay, I fed it into Chat GPT and I said, as they're coming from Oprah with a very loving tone, blah, blah, blah. And it wrote it so like, you know, with all the flowers and everything else. And I'm sitting back and I'm laughing. I'm like, that's not me. And I was like, you know what? So then I sat back and said, you know what? I need you to write it from a point of view of Samuel L. Jackson, make it a little grimy. And when I tell you, it went from, honey, please, you know, let me open the door and, you know, and let me sit your lovely butt down to, again, Samuel Jackson was like, I told your ass to get here and do, you know, and it was, I mean, it was so cool. I had so much fun with it. I'm up at like 1 a.m, sitting back and trying to come up with different characters to tell that story. And so, but this here is just takes it to another level. So, love the feedback each and every time you share with us. It gets that much more intense. So, thank you so much for that.
Yep. So one last thing, have any of you heard of Notebook LLM? Matt? No.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah,
So
I want to.
this is next level.
So Google's has this free tool, kind of like Chat GPT, but you can just give it information, websites, LinkedIn pages, just, you know, it's more like you feed it whatever you want. And it by default has some features to kind of explore whatever you have submitted. I'd love to get a volunteer. I want to show one thing real quick. Can somebody enter in the chat their LinkedIn profile? And I want to demonstrate one aspect of it. I just would prefer to anybody? No volunteers?
I'll enter mine. I can't remember the configuration of it.
I just added mine. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I think Lisa's first. I see Lisa.
Sure.
So if you Google Notebook LLM, Google, you can find it. Actually, I don't know how long it'll take, so I'm gonna first just put it in, and then I'll explain kind of how it works. So again, the main thing is that you can enter into it documents, websites, and if you wanted to, like, by default, you see here, FAQ about Lisa, you know, it automatically can create some things on based upon the websites. Imagine some TCPA world, you know, maybe document or something that Troutman puts out there, something complex, and they can explain it to you. And it's got these default formats and ways to learn from it that I find valuable. So again, it's got Lisa's information. If I were to make an FAQ, imagine you're doing like a podcast interview and you wanted to come up with some questions. You grab that person's LinkedIn, their website, a couple of different things, and it can automatically grab some questions about them. Of course, you can do this for your research on sales as well. Let me go back to the, nope. By default, it's got a study guide. Like I put 3 or 4 different technical AI documents, and they can create, it can create a study guide based upon that topic. So for me, for learning, this has been a really fascinating product to start to learn about things that are really, really technical. And so I put like the Blacks in Performance Marketing Summit earlier today. Sometimes I can grab that. So I put the summit in here. And so again, it gives me the summary of the summit. If I were to grab a study guide on the summit, it'll give me information on it, the key objectives based upon whatever it saw in the website. So I can,
Did you include the voice
yeah. I saw
recording
I'm
for this?
generating Lisa's. Wow, but
Okay.
this one should be ready. Yeah. So one of the, oh no, load. So there's one of the things that's by default, you can turn whatever your document into like a conversation. So it's not just like a transcript of listening to the content. It creates like a podcast conversation. Again, to me, for learning, for education, it's pretty fascinating. So here is the BiPM Summit, the website that I just put in here, and then I turned it into an audio overview of what this website is talking about.
Ever notice how some companies just seem to be
And can you hear that? Did the sound come through?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
ahead of the curve? Ever notice how some companies just seem to be ahead of the curve, always innovating? Well, get this. There's this study by Boston Consulting Group, and it found that companies with more diverse leadership, like, actually have 19% higher innovation revenues.
Wow, 19%. That's significant.
Yeah, it really makes you think, right? Diversity isn't just like a box to check. It's really about, tangible results.
Absolutely. It's about bringing those different perspectives to the table. And you know what? It's something that this event we're diving into really highlights. The BiPM Summit 2025.
Blacks in Performance Marketing, right? Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so it's happening alongside Lead Generation World 2025.
Which is a pretty big deal in the industry.
Oh, huge. And this summit is all about putting a spotlight on Black excellence in marketing.
So not just another marketing conference then.
No, this is different. It's about like really fostering connections, having those conversations that spark innovation.
That's what it's all about.
Exactly. Getting those aha moments that you can't get when everyone in the room comes from the same background.
So for our listeners out there, why is this summit? Why is it so important? Like, why should they care?
Whether you're in a company, trying to diversify your talent pool, or you're just interested in the future of marketing, this is relevant.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Because diverse teams, they think outside the box, they bring fresh ideas, and ultimately they connect with a wider audience.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Connection. Right. But how does BiPM, how do they pull this off? Like, how does it actually work?
So picture this. Speaker sessions, networking opportunities, you're rubbing shoulders with top companies, and of course, a vibrant exhibit hall with the latest and greatest in the field.
Sounds like a whirlwind of connections waiting to happen.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about like passive listening. It's about actively engaging, right? Getting involved. And actually, the website really emphasizes that there will be lots of professionals and allies present. So it's about creating a space where everyone feels welcome.
I love that, seeing allies showing up. It really speaks volumes.
Right. It shows a real commitment to.
I will stop there,
You're
but
freaking me out.
yeah. So
Isn't this
one of the-
amazing?
yeah, that is, yeah, and this I'm gonna get,
Unbelievable.
yeah,
Unbelievable.
it's crazy
That
just
is
by
crazy.
default. But
That
I
is
will
crazy.
say, if you want to hear something really cool, put your LinkedIn profile in there. And to me, I was like, I want to see what it says about Lisa, but I want to give her this experience because it's amazing when it talks about you.
Okay, so get this. We're doing a deep dive on high achievers today, but not just any high achiever.
No.
This is Lisa S. Jones we're talking about,
Yeah, saw the name.
and we're diving deep into her LinkedIn.
All right. LinkedIn, deep dive. Love it.
It's more than just a resume though,
Yeah, I see that.
It's like a masterclass in building a career.
Definitely impressive.
Makes you wonder how someone like that operates at the top of their game, right?
Well, one thing that stands out, even with all the awards and leadership roles, is this sense of evolution.
You're right. It's like she's constantly saying, okay, conquered that mountain. What's next?
Exactly.
Like right now, founder and chief iMail officer, CEO. Love that title, by the way, of iMail Inc.
So email marketing, digital strategy, that whole world.
Exactly. But then you see she's currently attending a Harvard Business School.
Whoa, that jumped out at me too.
Right.
Think about it. She's already leading a company, killing it, and she's still hungry to learn more.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Tells you a lot about what it takes to stay ahead in a field like digital marketing.
I mean, it's not enough to be good. You have to be constantly learning, right?
Absolutely evolving all the time.
So she's sending this message to everyone listening, no matter how successful you get, there's always more to learn.
For sure.
And speaking of success, can we just talk about this list of awards for a sec?
It's unreal.
It's insane.
Yeah.
From business awards to leadership recognition to even being named one of the top 29 global experts in email marketing trends.
Global expert.
Global expert, next level stuff.
And it's not just one place saying she's great either.
Right.
We're talking industry magazines like CIO.
Yeah.
Look, business.
I'll just stop there. Anyway, so to me,
What
yeah,
the
Yeah.
heck?
yeah,
You just changed my life.
yeah. So notebook. So that's So that's Google's Notebook LLM. Put anything in there, any topic. It's flattering to me to just do this for yourself or any topic. And it's education. Like I said, I put things that I didn't understand and it helped me. But this is where things are going. Like I said, voice and audio is a unique thing that we don't talk about a lot, but I think AI is going to be talking to you in creative ways. You're going to be talking to it in creative ways. Like I was saying, I've got this tool in my computer called Whisper Flow, and it's a dictation app that I was using earlier that I just talk to it. It'll format, it'll do everything. I can do everything by voice. I will mention Podcrafter. Google's thing is cool. Podcrafter is one you can kind of control and you can manipulate. You can change the voice, make it your voice. It's kind of, and they're coming out with a conversational version, but Podcrafter is kind of, it's similar, but there's, a list of tools I have on my site. But anyway, that's kind of my conclusion. Again, the big highlight is all these things are cool, but if you actually take time, weeks and months, configuring it and training it, not just allowing it to do what it does that's exciting and cute. That, again, said that was my big gap. I use it, but I wasn't really training it. So in the next 3 months and like next year, I'm going to be going deep into like 1 or 2 platforms and continuing to optimize and train them. Like I said, if you go to my LinkedIn, you'll see posts every third day. 90% of that is AI. But it's all about me and AI. It's not me posting. I post stuff every now and then. I have AI that finds people on LinkedIn, cold email, Zoom info. I've got a lot of AI going, but I'm going to start training it and making it even better. But that's kind of my big thing for you. Invest into training, invest the time. Again, if you want a workshop, you want help from me, I'm creating a workshop specifically for teams and companies that really go into not just what's cute. How do you make it? Oh, I got one more thing, and I'll put it. But Jobs GPT, that's another. Anyway, if you go to my site, you'll see it on there. But it's a tool that can take your job or any job and tell you where AI can do the tasks of that job. Which is because people say, "Oh, what can AI do?" Put in affiliate manager. It'll take that title, break it out into tasks, relationship building, following, and those tasks, one by one, will say, can AI do this task? 20, 30%. Can AI negotiate? Not really, 10%. But it shows the exposure so you can plan for the future when you, but again, if you go to my site, I got it there. It's a free custom GPT, but I meant to share that. But that's something that can show you the future of how AI can do different tasks and things like that for leaders. When you think about the future, it's good for planning. AI can't do it yet, but you can kind of get an overview of what's to come. So,
Well, Arvell, we're at the hour.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how great this was today. So informative, extremely enlightening. Again, if you're not following the trends of AI today, start today. You have got to stay in the lead here, or else you're going to be left behind. And you can see how much has changed in probably the 1 year since Arvell has presented to us AI from its infancy. And now look where we're at. I mean, it's fully mature and so much has now evolved. So thank you again, Arvell. Thank you to all of you for your engagement and for being here today. And once again, this is a fabulous meeting, and we look forward to seeing you all next